Hello everyone! So today I'm going to show you how to turn a Moses basket into a table. You can use it for toy basket, toy storage, for many things. So first, you're going to have this basket. Some of them have this little hood, like the one you can see here, and some of them don't have it. Obviously, because this is the one we have here, I'm just going to show you how it is. So here you see the basket has these little knobs that turn, so you would just make sure that they come off by holding. These are just like literally just turning it and until you've done. It takes quite a bit of time to do. So this is one, and you do exactly the same with the next one. So now these are off. And I've got rid of this little hood that Moses basket have. I'm just going to put it to the side. So now there's a couple of things. So you have, these are made and weaved in a specific way. They're normally hooked on top of each other. So basically they hook it around and to the next one and to the next one. So first, not all Moses baskets have it, but ours has this handle. So these handles, in order to get rid of them, you're going to have to cut off the string that's attached to it. So if you see closely, you can see here that there's string going around the inside. Some baskets are made in a better quality. This one probably is not too good, so you can see it. But there will always be some sort of string attaching it. So I'm going to go with scissors and I'm going to cut off. I'm going to turn it so you all can see all this white string. You can see it all around. You don't have to cut all of them. I find that by cutting it makes it easier to pull it. Maybe yours has a different attachment. Maybe yours is actual cord, like this kind of material attached. So just find the material that's attaching your outside parts to the actual basket and then just cut them off. You're not going to need them. If you don't want to use the scissors, you can also use a picker. It's quite handy if it's a string, obviously. So you can just pick it. You don't have to do all of them, especially if it's a string like this, because they will, by pulling, they're all kind of connected. So as long as you cut every 2 or every 3, should be enough. And then I'm going around like this because it makes it quite easy for me. Now I've taken off the outside one, as you can see. This little string, we could probably think of something to do with it, so I'm just going to leave it to the side for now. I wouldn't worry too much of getting rid of all these little strings hanging, unless you're going to do something with this material, because at the moment we're not doing anything with it. So as you can see in this basket, the little handles are basically one piece of string going all around and back. There's a couple of things we can do, but first we need to take them off. So these ones are not attached by this string, they're just attached by the actual same materials. You can see here. You can either do it by hand with a picker, or you can just snip them. It's up to you. If you want to reuse this string, maybe you can. I'm gonna try to take them off by hand now. It's not that difficult actually. My nails are really short. So there we go. So as you can see, this was a string that was holding that bit. This is being held by this white cord as before. So you just need to cut it off. Just snip some of them. As before, you don't need to snip all of them. And you'll see how easily they come off. So again, the same string I'm gonna go, I'm gonna take it off with my hands. And I've taken off this bit, cut the string that's underneath, and now you can see how it comes off. Yeah, so You can get rid of some of the string, obviously, because you're going to be using this basket, so you don't want excess of anything. Those little strings, you can bin them. And now you still have the other side of the handle, and you have to do the same thing. So we'll do it again. No, that's fine. It's just so I don't have to talk so much. There we go. Cutting the cord again, like I did in the other side. There we go. So once I've cut all the cords, again I'm going to pull. There might be some resistance, but they eventually will come off. Take all the cords off. Perfect. So now we have the handle here. So this is what it used to be, the handle. So there's a few things we can do with it. So we're gonna do that at the end. Depending on how high you want your basket, you're gonna cut the length. So normally I wouldn't make it too long. So if you can see here, there's lots of rows. So I would probably leave 4 rows if you're doing it for a toy basket or maybe like a changing basket or just decoration. So the way to do it is really easy. So you just need good scissors that cut through thick material. So let me see if I can show it best. So you can see here, if you just cut through, just snip it. You need to make sure, depending on your basket, that you just cut the connection between the top layer and the bottom layer. Some baskets, this basket is a bit different. This basket has, all of them are attached, as you can see, by wrapped around onto the top layer. Some baskets are not like this. Some baskets start from the beginning and they go shh. So you're gonna have to snip it. I'll show you at the end in like a slanted way, so it looks nice. So first you just cut. It's starting to take shape. You can take off all these little bits that are like extra. You can do it at the end. So I wouldn't go too low because now it's starting to decrease. Can you see? So now I'm gonna cut the other side. So there it is. So you're getting really close to the edge. See that in order to blend the cut, so the basket goes like this. In order to blend it, this is one level lower, this is one level higher. So you try to blend it by cutting here. So I would cut the last 2 connections here. And then you still have some connections here. So I would snap until you get to here, where you're about to do the turn, the end of the basket. And with good scissors, you have to cut across. This will make more sense once I put this away. So you have this bit here, which still kind of connected by the bottom one. And if it's not connected, that's absolutely fine. We can use some of the cord to connect it to make it look nicer and tighter, so it kind of doesn't come apart. And then you're left with this. So what are you going to do with this? They look really nice, I think, in my opinion. They're really good for decoration. And then you can attach the handles back again. Depending on how you like. I don't know if you like the handles on the sides as opposed to on here. Maybe it's quite easy. That's how this changing basket normally have the handles on the sides. So first, what I would do, you can use different types of cords. I mean, you can use things at home. If you have thread, you will need something a little bit thicker. You can't just use normal thread. As you can see, this thread here is quite thick. It's more like cotton thread. And I think it'll probably be best. Try to find something that looks close to the color that you have on your basket. Otherwise, might look a bit off. Don't worry so much about measuring. I wouldn't, unless you're really short in cord. I would just take a piece of string, maybe something along these lines. I'm going to say this is probably 30 centimeters. I mean, if you really want measurements. And then you see where the little loop goes, the last loop that I cut a little bit off because I had to. Just there, I would try to connect it to the bottom bit. So you do similar to what the hook here is doing. So you go underneath, not underneath this one, but underneath the one underneath, just below, sorry. And then you hook it like this, just to make sure it's hooked. And then one string stays here, one behind. And then just do a knot. If you really wanted this to sit nicely, you could potentially go with scissors, with thread. Let me see if I can find some thread to show you. So once I've done that knot, just before I go with the thread, there we go. This one also has to be cut. Sorry, because it's here and it's annoying us. Once you've done that, then you can just try to hide it by just pulling through and then cutting the thread on the other side. There we go. These are just the excess from the top, sorry. I was going to take them at the end. So if you want to get rid of that pointy bit, so it doesn't look so ugly, you can try with some like thread to go with and just do some stitches. I would recommend, I don't have anything thicker, so I'm doing normal thread. And it might not look as good. Just 1 second. There we go. So just take it easy when you're doing thread on any of these materials because you are poking with a needle. And it's quite gentle. This material kind of breaks as you like so. If you don't have any needle, any thread, I wouldn't worry too much. I mean, this is just like a DIY craft. It's not like professional. So I have tried, so you can see that it doesn't actually take it in really well because this thread is actually quite thin. So if you want to do it at home and you have a thread that is a bit thicker, it might actually do the job. Maybe I'm just pulling too hard and I have to be more delicate. The thing is that because this is... Yeah, that's a bit better. So if you pick up a layer that's too small, it will always kind of cut through the material and will just make a hole and then not actually like hold it together, if that makes sense. So I'll show you now. So I actually managed to do it carefully this time. Let me see. Yeah. So, I mean, if you get really close, you can see the thread. So, as I said, this is just to make a little change. I wouldn't, yeah, this is not professional work. So, to finish my stitching, either you can do a knot, or if you want to do, if you can see here, so I have finished there, on this side, on the left side, and then I'm going to go around over the right side. Right, go a whole around loop and then go and loop it through here. Just to make a little wrap around. And then I'll just do a knot by holding, and then I do the knot. I normally do 2 or 3, especially because it's so thin. You need it kind of holding quite well. If you look, kind of the thread is holding, so the bits don't come off. So after you've done that, the first thing you need to do is take away all the excess of these little bits that were connecting the bottom with the top. So there's loads of them. Just obviously get rid of them. Cool. So once you've got rid of all these little things, these are biodegradable really, so they're natural materials, so you can just put them in the compost bin or put them on the bin. So now what you're going to do next is, remember this cord. So I'm going to see. So you have two options. You could either, because this basket in particular had the two handles, and then around it there was this kind of decorative piece. This is quite short. It's quite good for if you're making tiny handles. So I think I'm going to use this one. However, if you only have the handles, or some baskets only have the actual handles connected like this, not such a long piece of string, I would do the same thing that I'm going to do, but just with the handles that you were provided. I mean, it's almost to be a little bit creative. Remember, if you're cutting through any of this material is very coarse and is really difficult to stitch. So I would try to avoid cutting as much as possible, because it will be very difficult to stitch again. Otherwise, you can always cut, let's say you wanted only these handles and you wanted to use this material to stitch it here. If you only want this piece up to here, I will cut further out, undo all of this, so you can use that to like work it in the material so they stay in. Otherwise, I'm thinking you're going to have it, it's going to be quite difficult to do. So I have this piece, and I'm going to take all these little cords that were used to attach it. So I'm taking, okay, cool. So as I said before, we have quite a lot of materials that we use for all the things here. So I'm personally going to be using, more lightly, I'm going to be using this material. This one is normally used for like teething, for like dummy clips, and this cord that we bought a long time ago, so I'm going to use this. But if you have thread, you need something thicker than just normal thread. So you can have something like this, you can have something like the ones you use for macrame, but obviously make sure they match in the color, because this is not very nice, or I wouldn't like it for my basket if I was using it. First, so this is the piece, so I'm going to put this one away for now, which is the one that we're not going to use. And then I have this one. So this one, because, also the other one actually, because as I said, the way they weave them, they have to attach them somehow. So here you can see this is the ugliest part of the cord. So you don't want this showing, so you want to make sure that this part is hidden. So if you're going to leave it as it is in length, just make sure that part stays just here. Don't put it at the actual handle, because otherwise it will look pretty ugly. So you turn the basket, and you have it here, and just make sure to measure the middle. So put that, as I said, the ugly bit in the middle. So if you look at the basket itself, you can see here it has the middle piece where it starts, and it starts like coiling around. So I would put this 1 and 2, so one goes and the second one, in between those two, just at the outer, I would put the middle bits. So just make sure, obviously, that you have the middle. Do not set in stone and you don't make a mistake. I would just do one side first, so you attach it, and then you make sure you start attaching until you get to the edge. And I'll show you, and then the other side will be at the very end. In order to attach this with cord, no matter the thickness of your cord, you're going to need different needles. So you can't have normal needles that you use for thread. You need some sort of like tapestry needles. We have here an array of like sizes. I mean, you can use really massive ones. It just depends on what you have. I mean, I guess you can do by hand, but I think it's pretty difficult. And you can just attach one by one and make a knot. But I find that with a certain cord, like the one I have here, which is not waxed, is really soft, it's quite difficult to make knots. So you might find it quite tricky. So you see, you can see here that I've used this really big needle, and it makes it really easy. So because you're going to need to stitch all along, I'll put quite a long, I don't know, just do like an arm's length, and then Yes, so you can do a knot just to make sure it doesn't actually come off while you're doing it at the very end. So as I said, you have the middle here, and because you're going to start with the side of the handle that's closest to you, you do with the one that's closest to you. So 1, 2, the one closest to you is here, and then you start with the ugly part. So you go with the needle and you like hook it to something. I mean, it's quite tricky. You don't want to break the material that's underneath too much, because otherwise it will kind of, it's going to be quite, you can go from underneath actually, if you really want it. There we go. You can see, actually, this one, don't worry so much that it looks ugly. We can make a tighten knot and make it look prettier later on. At the beginning, this is just to hold it. So you hook it there, and then you hook it around through the ugly part. As I said, look, 1, 2, they're closest to you. And then you just go like if you were sewing on a t-shirt or in a shirt, just around all the way to the edge. You can choose right or left, it's up to you. It doesn't really matter actually. So you go around. You don't have to stitch, if you can see here, you don't have to stitch through the cord. You just have to kind of make sure it's hooked throughout. So you go and it's this like line. You see it at the end, but once it's all done, it's easier to see. So you hook through, see, through the hole. You don't make a hole, just hook it. The one underneath, you do need to like kind of go through it. It's quite difficult. If you find it difficult to do it at one, you can just do it. I find it easy sometimes to do it through the bottom, so you put it through like this. Like this. There we go. See, so it's now on there. So again, up here. Yeah. So it's all attached there. So you put it through, and then you find it easier to do it like this. There we go. So it's quite tight. You don't want to pull too hard anyway. Just want to make sure the edges are done. So yeah. Okay, so now I've gone all the way. As you can see, the cord is there. You can't see it very much because obviously I've used a really nice cord that doesn't show, but is all there. So if we turn it around, you can't see the cord because it's attached to the bottom, which is quite nice. Anyway, so I'm reaching. I'm going to turn it around so you guys can see. So I'm reaching the edge here. So I'm going to have to stitch all the way up to there. So I'll do the same thing, just making sure. So every time you stitch, you have to do it carefully. Just so when you're doing it, like example, like I'm going through again, like I've done all the way here. And then, let me see, this time, because it's in a corner, it has to be quite tight so it holds quite well. So you can put it, just make sure it matches where it enters. So roughly matches, doesn't have to be exact. There we go. So, and then you pull it as you go. So just make sure it's straight, obviously. So if you're doing it straight or fairly straight, and then you put it through here. Yeah, sometimes that's it. There you go. Made a mistake there. So if you make a mistake, you just go back through the same bit that you entered. And then just make sure the cord is not trapped like I just did. So there we go. So straight cord, and then you put it through here and do the same thing as you've been doing. So just ensuring that it's straight. So So if I find it quite difficult, these needles are quite hard. So just be careful with your nails. And then you put it through again. This is not how I stitch. I'm trying to show you how to do it. I normally would do it with the basket in the other way, but so yeah, you put it through. Again, remember it needs to be quite tight because this is the part of the basket that you'll be holding the most. I normally get blisters after doing this kind of thing. But anyway, my hands are very delicate. There you go. So the last one is going to go through. And you're going to look at it. Is it straight? You need it to be straight. And then put it through. Make sure it's tight enough. And obviously, like you would do with fabric, you can't go again through the same hole because otherwise you would just destroy it. But you can go through. Let me show you here. This is the hole that you came all the way here. So now you find it down, just to make sure you do not make a hole that's too close to each other, and then the whole thing will collapse and break. And then I will do a third one. So I always do quite a lot in these kind of things and make sure this one doesn't come out again through the same hole. Yeah, just maybe if it's going through the same height, then just put it sideways so it goes through a different hole. It makes a different cavity. There we go. So now this is stitched quite strongly. You would just need to make a hole. So if you make a knot here, then you will be quite visible. So what you can do is you can again go back. Whoop. There we go. And normally what I would do, can you see? Yeah. So normally what I would do is I would just make a knot here. So you can just carefully make a knot. See? And then another knot. You can, if you want to make, I would do another knot there actually. Two knots, sorry. It would be the best. And then if you had this cord or a cord like this type, the cotton one, right? I'm going to show you something. If you cut it lighter and cinch the edge. So don't touch it because you're going to burn yourself. You can touch it with a plastic if you want. Once it dries, it shouldn't move. So that's how you do one side. Obviously at the moment, you've only done this side, which is quite good actually. So then you have to do the other side. Okay, so now I have done the other side. So this is the first side I did. This is the second side. I also gone around and finished. Here I've done the burning and everything. So now, obviously we're left with the other side. So you want to make sure that you are doing the same in terms of same length. So what I suggest is that you put it the side up, and then you put it in the middle, and then you kind of work out here in length how much you want them. So I would like them like this. You might be slightly off when you do it. I mean, it's quite difficult to get it exactly the same, especially with this material, but you can get it as close as possible. So you can either just hold it like this and then go down. This is what I would do. I would hold it like this and then with my hand here at the bottom and then turn it around. And then I know that's there. I would just like something like this to hold it, some sort of pin or something just to make sure you don't lose the middle when you turn it around, because it's easy to lose the middle once you turn it around. And then you again get the same cord. I have quite a leftover cord because I'm not measuring. You can measure, but I don't know exact measurements, so I'm just cutting. And to do the same thing. Here you have 1, 2, and I made the first one the closest to me. So if you turn it around, you do the same thing. So it's 1, 2, the closest to you. So you start again there. So now I have attached both sides. As you can see, I've done the same thing in both sides. So I have burned the edges every time I've done the knot, and here at the very back we have the 2 ugly sides, especially the ugly side, and you have, let me see if I can find them. It's not easy to find because I hid them quite well. The starting knots, where are they? Here is one. So this is one of the starting knots. And here's the other one. I don't know if you can see them quite well. Let me see if I can come from here. Yep, they're just there. So one thing you can do, you can do the same as I did with the edges. I would cut them as short as I can. And then if you go with the lighter, obviously be careful with the other materials just there. So you not burn it. So you just burn it quite quickly and then it just stays there. And then the other one, let me see if I can find it because I hid it and I think one of them actually went all the way here at the front. I don't know if you can see. Both of them are here. So you can do the same thing. If they end up at the front, you can just cut them. And if they actually bother you, then you can just burn them a little bit. Be careful burning the material, because this material burns quite easily. This is flammable. So yeah, so perfect. So once you've done that, you have a working basket. Make your own inside. So if you already had a Moses basket, you more likely already have a little mattress that comes with it that you can use if you're using it for a changing basket, or if you're using it for decoration, you don't need to put anything in it. You can just keep it as this. I hope you like the video, and if you like it, just do a thumbs up, and you can comment below, or if you need any help, just let us know. We're happy to help. We're going to put a list with the links with some of the things that you can buy. I mean, some of them are quite easy, the scissors and stuff, but yeah, some of the cords, you can choose what you need. Thank you for watching. Bye.